You were growing up in a Republican household. Your father, as I remember, ran some kind of little store. What was it?
It was a office equipment.
Office store.
Furniture.
Could I find there, at that time, the guy that George Lucas became? The artist he became, the businessman he became, the filmmaker he became, the artist?
I certainly couldn't have. I don't think anybody would have at that point. I was kind of a underachiever, you know, typical kid who got into a fair amount of trouble. The great thing about my parents is they both had faith in me. Yeah. Especially my mother, but even my father had faith in me. And no matter what I did in terms of displaying the fact that I wasn't going to amount to anything, they sort of under it all sort of had faith that
they believed there was something there that would eventually emerge.
They would believe that I would be okay. My father would say, well, he'll be a late bloomer.
Ah.
He always used to say that. He used to say, oh, don't worry, he's a late bloomer.
So he never worried. He never.
But he had to do that all the way through high school and in the beginning of college.
When you look at Steven Spielberg, you know, and hanging out in movie theaters and sort of living his childhood, they say, on film in the beginning, or the child that he was became the movies he made, that wasn't you.
No, when I was young, I was more involved in cars. I really loved cars and racing and that sort of thing. And then when I finally settled down and got to school, which was when I started college, I was really an anthropology major. I had an interest in art and painting and illustration and that sort of thing. But it really wasn't until my junior year in college that I even knew anything about movies, that I sort of discovered film by going to USC and thinking that I was going to like a photography school, but it was really a school of cinema.
Yeah. Was any particular movie that motivated you and inspired you and made you believe that this could be a home for George Lucas?
Well, it wasn't. Up to that point, I'd had an interest in the social sciences and that sort of thing, and that's what sort of motivated me. But it wasn't like a burning desire. It was an intellectual interest. But as soon as I got to film school, and it was, you know, it's a regular liberal arts program, so I had to take Spanish and science and math and all those other things too. But as soon as I got into a film class, which was film appreciation, and then the other class I had was an animation class, I instantly knew that this was for me, that this was it. This is something, I don't know. When I started, I looked at the films that were being made. I loved the films. I was exposed to films I'd never seen before, because coming from a small town in Central California, we didn't have foreign films there. My only real exposure to sort of avant-garde films that you wouldn't find in a regular theater was the sort of underground movement in San Francisco, which I was very acquainted with. And I would go up there when I was at junior college in Modesto, and I would go up there in high school and drive up to San Francisco, and we'd go to these little funny surf theaters and things like the little art theaters and see these really wild Kenyan cinema films and that sort of thing. And so that would have been my only experience with film. And so when I got to USC, I got to see all the great films that had been made. You know, everything from Orson Welles to Kurosawa to, you know, everything, you know, D.W. Griffith. And it was just a complete eye-opener to me. And